Well, it was time to get rid of the big boat. I wasn't real eager to get rid of it, but it was just taking up all the garage, and it's time for my wife to get half that garage back so she can park her car in there. That way I don't have to clean her windows off every winter. So now we got us a new project, and this one will fit in the garage with her car. All right, here's the trailer that goes with the boat. It's a pretty heavy duty one. It's got 3-inch square tubing in the main part here. Gets fairly normal back there, but what I'm going to do this is I'm going to go ahead and rewire it. The lights aren't working right now. I don't know why, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to start all new because I intend to have this boat for quite a while. It's going to be my boat when I go fishing into retirement, so I want to start with fresh wiring. Right now, this thing is really long, and it's taking up a lot of garage too. To I can barely get in. I want that motor to not get in the way of my workbench, so I'm going to chop it down about where you see right here. It's probably about a good 2 foot, 1.5 to 2 foot coming off of it. That'll make it a little easier to manage in the garage. Of course, I got some chains for it. These got all these at Harbor Freight. This, I'm going to see if I can salvage it. It really works good. It's just oil, just kind of rusted looking. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and kind of clean it up. I'm going to spray it down with some WD-40 and stuff and wire it, and kind of try to clean it up and get that rust off of it. And then eventually I'll go ahead and paint it. Another thing I'm going to do is, the boat's coming, or the eye's coming above here, and I always like mine to come a little bit underneath. So one thing I'm going to do is move this back and move this up. And what that's going to do is allow me to move this back a little bit so I can move that back a little bit. Plus it's going to, get this up. And I'm going to decide whether I want to cut some of this off or not. I'm going to pressure wash this thing, and then I'm going to get about really cleaning it, sanding it up and all that. But for now, I'm going to take these old bunks off. Now the tires apparently they're dated to the 32nd week of 2020, which means they're good tires. It's just that the wheels, it's all rusted up, and it's kind of got a weird thing going on here. Back here, this is the hub, and it looks, it may be okay, but it's kind of weird because it's not setting like a normal, all the way through the tubing thing. It's just, I've never seen this before, but I'm sure it's pretty common. I believe this is a 73 trailer, so what I'm going to end up doing is going ahead and taking these wheels and tires off and putting new, along with new hubs, just so I can, be ready for retirement. All right, I originally thought I was going to be able to just pull this thing out and start spray painting it, and it dawned on me that, of course, in the process, I need to cut this tongue off. Well, I realized now I could just paint, from where I think I'm going to, I don't need to paint all of it because I'm going to cut some off, but I could go ahead and paint. But the problem is I know I'm going to have to move this. I'm going to have to move this piece up, and I'm going to have to move this piece this way, and of course this needs to be adjusted, and so there's a lot going on here. Early on I thought, well, I'll just pull the boat back on it, and see exactly where these things need to be and go ahead and get them in that position and then paint. Then I realized that I've taken the monks off, so I can't pull the boat up. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take these apart. I'm going to take this off of here, and I'm going to take this piece off of here, and then we're going to separately paint these. And then this thing I'll just, I'm going to leave it on for now until I paint. And then when I get to this area, I'll maybe just move it all the way over here out of the way, and then go ahead and paint the trailer, and then come back and paint these individually. And then I'm going to take my bunks to the shop and get them reupholstered, bring them back, install them, put the boat on here, and find out where all this needs to finally end up. I went to Home Depot and got my carpet. It's this outdoor carpet, and it's the same stuff that's on these bunks, which actually look pretty good considering. So I'm going to trust it, and but I'm going to take this hold off. You can see it's really not torn up or anything. It's just some of it's kind of discolored and all that, but it's really not in bad shape. So, but I'm going to go ahead and take it off because it just looks horribly done. Being an upholsterman, I can do a lot better job. Plus, I'm going to, kind of cut these corners off so that it ain't so harsh when I, when you bump up onto the thing, you don't, especially on the top and the lower. I'm going to do both of them that way so that it'll glide up on them pretty easy. On the side ones, the ones that are on the, here I got me a new board here because one of them was in bad shape. But on the side ones, because they sit like this, I'm not going to cut it off like that because it do any good. It's the upper ones. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off, this way, so that it, doesn't have this harsh corner here. And I'm going to kind of round these off anyway. So I'm going to try to make it where it's as least amount of problem as possible with wear on them. All right, to update, I've got the trailer painted. I got the bunks redone. Had to make a new one. One of them was kind of bad and bent, so I just put a new one in. But they turned out pretty good. So I've got the paint. I've kind of got the lights hooked up here, waiting for the new wiring. Still want to clean up or replace these. These are dingy looking, but I think I'm going to try to get them off and clean them real good and then armor all them or something. But I wouldn't mind switching to some yellow ones. But all right, I got this all hooked back on where it fits the boat. I just had it out there. I should have showed you that, but boat's in the side yard. I just threw it back on here, fitted it for this, got this set, got this moved back, and now I'm going to put this right about in that area there. I kind of got a mark right here where I'm going to cut it, and then I'll bolt that on real good. So I'm going to get rid of all that unnecessary tongue. After I get that cut off and situated up there, I'm going to have to touch up a little paint from when I was doing that. I still got to put the winch on up here. I got to get bolts for that. But then my next deal is going to be to take these tires off. I'm going to clean that all up, wire wheel it and everything, and get it cleaned up and spray paint them later. And then probably while I've got them setting off on little jack stands or something, I'm going to go ahead and run the wiring and get it wired up. All right, I went ahead and I didn't film it. I forgot to do it, but I cut off this tongue. It's over there. And I drilled these out and bolted them on. Went ahead and added my old winch back. I know it's ugly, but if we got rid of everything because it was ugly, half of us would be out of a job. I mean, half of y'all. And I've got this idea where, my wire's going to come through there, and I think I'm going to drill a little hole right here that, and kind of clean it out for the wire to come through, and then down through this little eye bolt that was there. Okay, I cut this off about 1.5 feet, maybe 2 foot, 1.5 feet. So it'll fit better in the garage and not push the motor all the way into my work stand. Got the new chains on it, got the wiring running on it. Slid that back where it's going to work good. Got this set in a position that works best now for the boat. Moving this up and getting this cranked so that the feet will come under here. I'm still waiting on my strap. Got the paint here. You can see the new wiring running through here. Reupholstered these. Got that cheap. It wasn't the cheaper carpet. It's the this is more of a heavy duty carpet there at Home Depot. It wasn't the real cheap stuff. That real cheap stuff would just come off real quick. This is pretty sturdy stuff. We've got, you can see the paint, got these lights. Now all I got to do, everything's working, is go ahead and kind of button all this up on both sides. I've got that to do. What I want to do now is take these wheels off, and I'm going to sand these down and paint them. And I'm also going to take those hubs off and replace them. I'm not going to replace the wheels and tires because they're still new enough and they're in great shape. There's no sense, just the only thing wrong with them is just that rust. So I can fix that a little cheaper than $180. So I mean, I could have spent more. I didn't need to spend. If I got good stuff like this, I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm going to put a little work into it. That was the same decision I made with this crank. It's an old crank,
but it works great. And I just couldn't make myself just get rid of it just because of the looks. Now I may take and spray some paint on it just so it doesn't look, but I may just leave it alone. Looks good. I mean, it's working fine. Everything's looking good. When I get these things done, then we're gonna move on to the boat. Okay, I'm just about done with the trailer. We got the front cut off, got the new coupler on, got the chains on, slid this back to more fit the boat instead of, this was too low. This part was too low and I wanted to raise it up. So I needed to scoot this back and raise it up to get it back even. I am got an order, one of those yellow clear one, or kind of gel looking ones for this. I just want a nicer one up here on the front, something easier to see at night when I come into the boat ramp. So this is what those are going to look like cleaned up. Once I've still got to do those, I may pressure wash them and then armor all them, or just scrub them down like I did this one. You can see the wiring. You can see from the back side. I'm gonna go ahead and stay with these hubs for a while because they seem to work fine. They're real fluid, silky smooth. So I'll check them from time to time. And the tires are in good shape. So now the rims look good. Got the new bunks in, or reupholstered bunks in. There it is. All new and clean. Just left El Dorado, Arkansas. Just bought a 20 horse Honda for the new boat. Had to drive 395 miles to get a motor I wanted, but I got it for probably half price of a new one. So long drive back to Tulsa. So the boat's been stripped, it's been sanded down, It's been washed down or sprayed down outside, and now I'm gonna go through the process of wiping it down with acetone, and then I'm gonna start going through these seams. Oh, there's 3 there, you know, for the keels, and then there's the ones here going up the side of the boat. I wanna put some sealant. I'm just gonna caulk some sealant all the way down both sides of that and kind of smear it into the, you know, into the crevices in it to make sure that's sealed up as good as it can be. And then after that cures, I'm gonna come back and put some epoxy. I'm gonna wipe epoxy on both sides of them all the way down that riveted seam there and on all of these rivets. Now, fortunately, I'm not finding any of these rivets to be really any loose. I haven't seen a loose one. So I don't know that there's a leak in this boat or not, but I'm just gonna assume there's a leak and do all this stuff first, and then I'll test it later to see if I need to do any adjustments. But I also do have, right in here, I'm also gonna put some of that sealant down in any of these areas here that could be, you know, any place for water to get in. I'm gonna go ahead and try to seal that up because right over here is kind of suspect in this here area there. So we're gonna hit all of that with the sealant, then epoxy. This is a 2003 Honda 4-stroke, and it's got the tilt and trim, electric start. So it's gonna be the perfect motor for me because I don't wanna be lifting this motor in and out of the water. I just wanna be able to hit that trim button right here and kill it there. And I've got my safety so I can either start it with the battery or I can start it there, worry-free. All right, I think I've got this all sealed up. Every line on this, you know, this back end, around every one of these keels, seams, down these seams here all the way. So I'm gonna let this set up for probably a couple of days, or I'm gonna read the instructions anyway. This is that Loctite PL Marine Adhesive Cures Fast. It says 24 hours, so. All right, it's Friday morning, so I'm thinking probably, you know, Saturday afternoon or something like that, I can probably start mixing my epoxy and start brushing it in all the rivet holes and probably just kind of running right over that Loctite too. So the reason I'm giving this boat so much attention is because it's probably going to be my final boat. I have zero desire to do these boat type fixes and stuff. I'm just too cheap to go, you know, spend and buy a new boat and put a new motor and all that stuff on it. But with this one, I want it to last me a good 10-15 years in my retirement. So I did get I got a 2003 motor. It's not the newest, but I'm going to take good care of it, and hopefully it'll serve me for a long time. I will be getting a new trolling motor that you know, has the spot lock and all the stuff that I like to have. I don't necessarily need the iPilot, but probably what I'll use, you know, I'll use it where, you know, I can push a direction and it follow that direction. And that's all I need to drag baits for catfish.
I've got it all mopped down with this epoxy, and I'm kind of, monitoring it to not let it run. But I've done all these seams, especially the ones here. Those are the ones I worry about the most. I know that water probably gets in here because of the weep holes, so I'm not necessarily that worried about it. I just don't want to, have it, who knows. Just did it anyway. Of course, I did every seam I could, every rivet I could find on here that's not, part of the keels either, all through here, all these parts. Now, hopefully this will make a difference in making this boat stay watertight for a long time. I'm gonna have to let this set for 24 hours. Well, not 24, but 72. So I'm really gonna be next week sometime before I start painting, but that's when the fun begins. Now the boat's clean. I could have done more sanding on the bottom. There's a lot of areas here that still have that runny look and everything, but I really don't care what that looks like. And I'd rather there just be plenty of epoxy on there to keep things sealed. I did kind of do a lot of work on the sides and the transom in the front area where you would see it and make sure that was nice and smooth as it can be. And now it's all clean and I can bring it back in and paint. All right, the etching paint is on. Dull green looking stuff. You can see some of the areas where I had put the epoxy on that I didn't really work too hard at getting off. Mainly because it's on the bottom and it's not going to show as much, but I did not want to disrupt any of these rivets. So even on here, I've got some areas, that are not perfect, but I don't care. I could have tried to sit there and fight and knock these off and accidentally hit these rivets, and I thought, nah, not that important. What's important, and you can see I left all of that. I just want it to be sealed. I don't think I'm a fan of black with my silver. A lot of contrast, and my truck is gray. So I'm gonna switch to this hammered looking gray stuff here. See if I like it better. All right, this is where it starts getting interesting. All right, you can see I've got it mostly painted and everything. I think I am gonna come back and spray it later with some kind of a clear stuff and everything, but I just wanna get it on where I can see the top of it finally and actually start planning this thing out and figuring out what I'm gonna do with it. Now, one of the challenges I'm gonna have is that if you see the ribs here, they're very few. You've got one way back here, one here, and that's kind of in an awkward place. You got this one here, and then you go way up here, another almost 45 inches to the next one. It's really only these two throughout the whole thing. You've got, you know, a couple running kind of sideways here, but that's it. I don't get them every, you know, 12 inches like everybody else does to work with. No, I get a challenge every time I get something. So one thing I do know is I'm gonna put a deck up here because I will want to fish it sometimes that way. And then, so I'm gonna have to figure out how I can tie in and maybe, you know, use this as stability for the front of it. Certainly gonna use this for the back of it, but I'm gonna have to come up with some way to hook it through here, you know, and get some stability going on the sides. So that's a challenge I got to figure out. And then I want it to be flattened out in here so I can probably keep a battery or two down in here and some other stuff. I want to get this flattened out, and I'm probably going to minimize how wide I go with it to try to minimize how much depth's going to be in between the top of the board and the bottom here. This here is kind of a mess. I'm probably going to have to lay some boards across here and level them out with that, so that I can put my gas tank I am going to go ahead and put a battery back here because my motor is electric start. So that's going to go on, and I'll decide whether I'm going to put a cover on it or not. This old transom is probably the original. It's not horribly rotted. I mean, it's certainly old. But it's kind of well above the, you know, the water. I mean, down here I can feel on the bottom it's solid. And because they've got it, you know, sandwiched with some really heavy duty 1/4 inch aluminum on both sides, this thing is sound as a rock. So I'm not going to mess with that other than to clean this area up, you know, clean up these things and maybe seal them, and then just paint this, you know, with a, you know, go ahead and paint it like I would the rest of the interior. Now I'm going to probably paint, you know, to where I think the board comes, or below where the board comes. That'll probably be one of the first things I start by doing is doing that. There must have been a hole over here at one time, and it, you know, it's got a, you know, it kind of looks bad on the outside too, but I didn't want to wake that sleeping bear by tearing it up and trying to refix it. So what I may try to do is, you know, is grind that off a little bit because it's protruding this way, and not worry about it. And if it leaks, I'll deal with it in a really big fashion way. But if it doesn't, I'm not going to worry about it because this thing has ribbing all through there. It's not like a flat spot. So I'm going to hope that holds. These leg things here, I'm going to have to figure out what to do with them because what I may end up, you know, if I take them out, I'm going to have to re-rivet where they're at, or I'm going to have to just cut them off down at the bottom and then come up with some other way to stabilize, you know, maybe. I'm thinking I might put some anchors on, you know, underneath, you know, or some way to support the front of the boards there, and then maybe put a, you know, a face board over that after I'm done, you know, to kind of make it where it looks like there's no opening there. So I've got a lot to think about there. So, and of course, I'm going to be putting my trolling motor, you know, I'm going to be building a front here mount for the trolling motor, and when this deck's sitting here, I'm going to build a little facing here so I can put some electronics in there and plug in for the trolling motor and all that, kind of like it was on my big boat. Finally got it on the trailer, and I always start with the trailer and then come from the bottom up and then end up on top. But we're going to get that all painted. We're going to get the floor in. We're going to get the deck built in, get the trolling motor, you know, all that electronics put on it. I'm going to put lights on here, you know, the red green lights, you know, the little strip ones. And I do want to find a way to put a spotlight on it. And I may get one of those that stands up and you can do the 360 thing with it, just because I really think those are pretty cool. And then I'll put my, you know, lights in the back. And then I'm going to look at having lights all on the inside strip and maybe even some on the outside, especially on the back, so that I can illuminate the area at night where I'm at if I'm in the stumps. So that's where we're at. trying to figure out how to whittle out a way to get me a subfloor in here for the battery area. For now, I'm trying to, I'm going to have to put a flat board across here and, fit it like everybody does. But I need to find a way to secure some boards going across on each side to, give stability to the sides. And I don't have a lot of options for mounting other than trying to drill holes, but I don't want to do that into the boat, especially in the lower areas, because that's, where the leaks could come in. So I come up with this board that, this thing was sitting in here, and I'm going to utilize it as a place to mount off of. But I want to be careful about that because I don't want to put a lot of pressure on this thing to loosen up these rivets and then create leaks here later. So I'm going to go ahead and I've run this board in here, and you can see it's kind of, angled to try to somewhat fit this, and then I'll put some screws in up here on it, find a way to get it screwed down here, and that'll give me a place to mount, take boards. And I think I'll stand up some of my 3-inch. I'll put one across here that's, flush here, but not bring it all the way to here, and then I can angle off of, screw onto it 2 boards that'll go across over there and one over there. And that'll kind of give me a starting foundation. And then I think once I get this board that I've kind of fitted in here, stabilize here and there on that, and then I've got because this ribbing thing, that thing it's a support rod or something, or rib or whatever, it's kind of going downwards. I put a block under here that I need to attach with some kind of L brackets, and then I can lay that down and screw that on top of it. And like I said, if I can find a way to maybe do the same thing back here with some angle brackets or some kind of brackets, I can get this locked in. I've also kind of got my little top board here figured out a little bit. I can put that, I need a place to mount my trolling motor, so I'm going to put that up there. I'm going to bolt that down real good on here, and carpet it. But once I get my flooring in here going up underneath here, then I'm going to put another facing board here that'll screw underneath here. It'll all be, I don't know if I'll carpet this part of it. I'll probably carpet this part because I'm going to avoid carpeting all these. I'm going to have, once I start laying flooring through here, you can see I've got these tall gaps and stuff that's going to be going on. So I'm going to just, put boards from here. I'm going to put board on top here with carpet on it, and then put boards that'll come underneath that. My top boards will be a little bit big on top, and then they'll go underneath it, and then they'll be fitted, to go down and cover up all that hole over there, on each side of each one of these, because I don't want to have that open and looking bad. So okay, what I started by doing was trying to figure out where do I want the boards to finish on the sides, like over here, where are they going to fit, side to side, how wide and all that. Then I needed to find out how high they're going to be here, based on back there, which is narrower. It's shallower back here, and it's a lot deeper up in this area. So what I did was take some like 1/2-inch pieces of scrap plywood, and I started cutting them to the width that I wanted that would support them on these edges. And it's all, pretty close to where these ribs are. I'm kind of staying close to that rib line all the way across. It seems like a good number to go with. Now, it starts swinging up here at the end, so I'm a little shallow on both sides, but that's what I wanted to do to keep the floor kind of level. So what I did was took a piece of plywood and I cut it off to where I wanted it here, the width. I took one the same way here, got it to where I wanted it here. And then I measured, what the width is between these two support beams, seat areas. And then the plywood will be a certain width this way. It'll be a certain width on this area and a certain width on this area. And I'm just going to, mark those. I'm going to start with a square piece that's as wide as these here and as wide as this widest point here. And then I'll equally taper off on both of these to get this piece. But right now, I'm trying to figure out the supports for them because I've only got one rib here in the middle, and it's hard to even get onto. But under these seats, there's nothing. I've got nothing I can mount to other than these came with these little cross things. I'll show you back here. They came with these things here. And so I got the idea that because these things are fat in here, if they'd have been flat, I would have just, hooked my angle irons right to them and everything been great. But because they protrude out here, I decided to cut them off. And what I did was lay a board up against them. I took one of my boards and I laid it there, and then I marked underneath where I needed to be. And then I came back with a Sawzall and I just cut right across those, and it turns out they worked out pretty good. So now my angle iron sits firmly right across them, and I'm gonna rivet each one of them on those posts. And I'll be able to do the centers on this one, but I'm going to have to put some supports here, and you'll see that later. Same thing with this one. I'm going to rivet to these two posts in the middle of them, and then put a support here and a support there. Now this one doesn't have any of that. So what I'm going to do on this side is I'm going to make my supports, and I'll show you what those look like later. But I'm going to run 3 of them across here. But I'm going to take this wider 1.5 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim it down. You can see here. Let me get this set. I'm going to trim this down. I'm going to cut across here and down like that so I can get it to lay flat on top of these ends right there and the one on this side. And so I can rivet down there. I can put a rivet on this end and on this other end. And then I'm going to put, I'll take some of my 1.5 inches, some of this 1.5 inches stuff I've got here, and I'll put a couple of supports. I'll rivet a couple of supports down here on other, kind of offsetting where my this PVC is going to have wiring in it, and so I don't want to get anything in the way of it down the middle of the boat. So I'll put a support over here and over here for that. Look like an idiot. Do it from the other side now for a little bit because I can show it. I've got my supports in for the floor that goes here. I've got these two hanging to kind of do the ends, and then there's the old brackets that I cut off and I riveted to. This one didn't have any, so it has to be fully supported by these three. This thing is extra heavy, and it is solid on there. I've got it riveted down to the actual ribs there. So, and then I got these cross members, so that's all really sturdy. It gets shallower over here, and I've got the same thing going on. You know, I do have places to rivet to these, but I still wanted to bring these up, and you can see that. But I forgot to bring one of my last crossbar that I'll be putting over here, like this one, and then that'll be that part of it. And I'm glad I went ahead and did aluminum, even though it's expensive, so that if my seats, or if the floors wear out, or you know, or rot out, I can just take them out, put new ones in, and I won't have to mess with any of this structure. So, all right, now we're gonna start. I've already got my deck. I'm gonna go ahead and get my subfloor installed down here for the batteries and get it painted and installed, and then I can put the top deck in. I'll be bolting it. I've already drilled the holes for it. I'll be bolting this in after I paint it. This needs to be screwed in. This part that supports this, I'll get that all in and painted, and then I can put the deck on it. All right, I've got all my decks, you know, my floor deck, my deck there, my floor panels, drying at the shop. So here at the house, I've got this 3/4 inch PVC pipe running through here. And what I'm doing is I'm going to run 2 strands of 16 gauge marine grade wire up it, because I want to run one of them up there. You can see I've already got one of them up there maybe. It's so dark in here. But I'm going to run one up here for the nav lights, and I'll have them, you know, on the sides here. And then I'm going to run another one for some kind of a, you know, headlights for when I go into the stumps at night, or if I'm, you know, loading the boat at night, because I do a lot of night fishing, so I got to have headlights. All right, I've completely got my framing done. Finally got my last piece in over there, and I just installed one here, a support for the middle, and another one there. And I think with all this done, between these being supported here and everything, and that being extra thick, that is sturdy. Not worrying about it at all. These things are pretty cool. Got them there. Got one here for this. This light will be the red light over here. And one for the green. Goes there. Like those things. All right, I've got my wiring. I tend to do a lot of, trolling, dragging for catfish, and I'll need to do it with lights on and all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to run, most of my lights off of it and the trolling motor. These are going to be going in there, coming out down there, going into a control box here that I'm going to take and finish up. Right, to catch you up, I've installed the front deck, and I've had some spare styrofoam at the house. At the shop from when we bought a dresser. So I thought, well, I think I'll fill it in this deep area here. And one thing I wanted it to do was levitate this pipe, so that, for one, it got it up here closer, and two, it also keep it from getting any water in it down there. And then it's really too low. I might put a little in here just for the heck of it. I've got a little bit left over here, but that's where I'm at on that. I just painted my second coat of paint on this interior to the points that are going to be seen. And I'm going to wait for that to dry, and then I can go ahead and put my floors in. I've already tested it, and this one needs to be trimmed down about a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch. But the rest of them look like they're going to be fine. So I could put it in and then install this one here. I can put this floor in and install this one here, but I have to leave this for when I install this box, which I need to still spray paint with the color of the boat. And so I'll do that, and then I've got I'll get that installed here, run the wires into it, and then I can go ahead and button this up. All right, I'm putting these floors in, and if you'll notice, I'm not doing anything to screw these down. I don't want to do that because I'm using these boards over the tops of them, front and back, and that's what's going to hold these down. So you can see I've got these two floors in. I'll put this one on when I get through with installing my wiring and all that stuff over. I've got to still install my box over here. I didn't show you this, but this is the board I just put down here, and I put these 2-inch angle irons on here to keep it off the ground. So it sets real well back there. So I'll put my gas tank and my battery back here. I had to run out of carpet, and I had a piece here and some part of it that was up there. And I tried to piece this together with some synthetic webbing glued underneath, but it didn't quite get it. It just wouldn't get as tight as I wanted it to. So I'm going to fix this with this little sliver of the carpet, some remnant of it. We'll see how it looks. All right, it's time to update. Not even really remembering where I was the last time, but got the motor installed. Got these benches installed. Got most of these lower parts installed. Still got to install that one. I just finally got it cut down to the right size. This thing's just about done. I got to shave a little bit off of this and repaint that. I've gone ahead and loosened this back up because I just got this. I bought this off a marketplace. It's a HDS 9 Lowrance. It's going to work perfect for what I need. And I've got my transducer wire here and my power wires there. And they're going to run down underneath. I'm going to bundle this all up underneath the seat. But I've got this hanging here, and I'm waiting for one of them little pads that I can epoxy on and then install the transducer. So I'm also waiting. I've got a 9-gallon gas tank coming. I'm not sure if it's too weighty for this boat or not, but worst case, I can just put 6 gallons in it at a time. But I'm hoping that I can use it with 9. Right now, I've only got my headlights hooked up for this back battery area, and I've got the running lights and the headlight. And both of those will be running basically when I'm actually got the motor running. So, and then my interior lights and this guy and the trolling motor and whatever accessories I put for like lighting for filming and things like that will come off of a front battery. I bought this Power Drive V2 on Marketplace for $250. And I paid $409 plus tax and stuff to get the advanced GPS upgrade for Minn Kota. So, but I only got the micro remote because I don't use those other remotes. I don't really do a lot of, chart planning and stuff like that. I just let it drag and spot lock and stuff. So that's all good to go. Still got to build me a board across here that'll look like these boards, and it will not only hide the wiring here, but it may also have put a little switch panel on it, and I'm going to make it one that'll fold up, kind of like my seat. Use some of these hinges, and I want to be able to hinge it down and up to get into that area. I'm going to give this a shot. This is that E6000 permanent bond, waterproof, flexible, paintable, metal, wood, glass, anything. I would install this, but it's really big. this is really sitting pretty tight under here. So I may cut it off somewhere in here and just let it pump out there. That there, folks, is the power. The power that's going to power this boat. I cannot tell you how excited I am to get this package. These are 2 Ionic batteries from Lithium Hub and a 3-bank charger. And I'm going to be installing them here pretty quick. I am so excited. Thank you guys at Lithium Hub. Ooh. Wow.
For a discount, use promo code Ionic 2025 in the description.
Okay, I'm gonna get this figured out. Thank goodness lithium batteries can be put on their sides like this, and this fits perfectly underneath my lip here. And there's really nowhere it can go back there. There's no way it can go sideways. So I'm gonna eventually put a board that bumps it right here to kind of lock it in there.
So one of the good things about how I did this is that this floor is not in any way screwed to this floor. I mean, you know, to the boards underneath. So all I got to do is take 3 screws out here, and I put 4 in over here, and I can pull both these panels and make it so much easier to run these wires. I want to get them just underneath this part right in here and up in here, and save as much distance as possible. Plus, make them where, you know, they're hidden. I really don't want to see wires hanging around out here. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out, take those off, and go ahead and get this charger wiring coming all the way up. Okay, it worked out just fine that this can come to here, and that can come to there. I've got the link to hook them together. Well, got these hooked together as best I can. I got my 2 leads with a shrink wrap on each one, and then I was trying to slide my bigger shrink wrap, which didn't seem to be big enough. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna really wrap the heck out of it with some red duct tape. This stuff is pretty sticky. So hopefully it'll do the job. It should be well out of the water area, because any water is gonna get down in there. This is way up high, so it would come out the back before it would get that high. All right, we are hooked in for the front battery. The back battery here will be super easy, because it's just the number 1 lead right here goes right there. So we've got, now all I got to do is fasten this one in and fasten this in. Okay, I've got my little strap holders in, and they're going to keep the battery pretty well from moving this way for sure, and this is going to be a bumper from this way. So there's not a lot of way this thing can move around, but if I have any issues with it, I'll find, you know, another better solution. The battery in there, I'm going to probably come up with a little more securing for it, maybe around this way, but this is in there snug as a bug. Connectability on these Ionic batteries is really amazing because you get double post and you get like a lug here, you know, and it's plastic coated. I mean, you can take the plastic off, but you can tighten it up and you can even put a wrench on it if you want to. And you've got multiple posts to work with, so that's pretty cool. You know, I've been looking at some of the other ones and they got just that little bitty nut down here, and you know, you're gonna have to figure out how to work all your stuff with that, but boy, this is really great.
You can see the full build of this rod rack in my previous video. Well, the rod rack is in. All right, finally. I do a lot of night fishing, and I definitely have to have a headlight or headlights on my boat. Here's the situation I have. This thing just blocks everything. I can't, if I put something back here, I used to on my other one, I had a little room, but they never really shined forward. So, you know, you can put one here, but if you're coming in, you know, this thing's blocking everything. So these things, you can see this little dot I've made. I'm gonna drill a hole there and it, you know, for the size of the bolt that's gonna go in there. And these things, because they're on a pivot here, now I can turn these in anything like, you know, I can decide how I want it to pivot on here, and then it'll pivot here. So I can turn it kind of like something like that, you know. But I got the freedom of two different pivots. I've got, you know, this way and this way. So I'm gonna, but I can just drill one hole here, get that started there, get that bolt, and then I can decide whether I want to do it like this, you know, and, you know, how much I want it to turn here and how much I want them to face this way and all that. But I'm gonna get them where they'll kind of shine out, where I can kind of see everything center, left, and a little right. Unfortunately, I can't put the wiring in the same hole, so I'm going to drill another hole right next to it or right behind it to run the wiring into it. You can see what it looks like there, and I'll have another one on this side over here. And I'll have some pretty good headlights to get into the stumps at night or to the boat ramp at night. Well, there we go. We have headlights that'll work around the trolling motor. This is gonna be great. I sure needed that. I've been worried about this, and now it is done. I think I'm ready to do a walk around on this boating project. You can see it behind me here. And I'll start at the front. All right, started off, I had to cut about 1.5 feet to 2 foot off of here. I didn't really measure it, but, and I put this new 2-inch coupler on it. It's a 3-inch with a 2-inch coupler on it. And this came on it, and I'm reusing it just fine. This part was further forward, and I slid it back and I raised this part up so that I could get this to meet where I wanted it to with that coming underneath. And of course I took this and I spray painted it and I put a new strap on it. And then I just moved that into a good position to where it needed to be. Here in the front, you can see, now I've taken the boat and I've two-tone painted it, completely stripped it down. Of course, you'll see all that in the video. And here's the deck I made for this. Mounts up great. Installed these I installed these two headlights because I am a night fisherman, as you can see in this video. And then here, I went ahead and put a board up here and I installed this. It's got a USB and a cigarette lighter on it, and I've got it right now just with a nail driving through it because it just keeps wanting to flap down. I've got it where I can get in here if I need to. And for temporary, I've just put a nail where it'll go down in there and hold it. Put this deck in, you saw that. I got this trolling motor for 250 bucks online, and then I added the advanced GPS upgrade on it, which was about 430 or so. So I've got it for around 700 bucks. New seats, new deck. Oh, let's go over here. Now, I've already had this boat out a couple of times, so I've got my vest in here. Wifey makes sure I have a charging wire. Got a rope with an anchor, but just more importantly, what I have here is an Ionic lithium battery, 150 amp hour battery that was supplied to this project by Lithium Hub. Thank you guys at Lithium Hub. They wanted to be a part of this project, and it is doing a great job, as you can see with these lights in the video. Love these things. I can even look on my phone and know how much charge is in them. And I've actually been fishing twice using this trolling motor. One time just, doing some light action fishing, and then we did do a little dragging with it, and we spent probably about 4 hours on the lake. Only used 10%. I went last night and started out in the creek, but ended up going and dragging for, I think, probably a couple hours, and then went back to the creek for a little bit. Got home, checked it, only came down another 10%, so it's still sitting at 70. I got it with 89%. It's went down to 80 on the first time and down to 70 on the second. So I can go a lot of times without charging. And these things have 11-year warranty on them. Wow, that's just something else. Love this battery. Ow! Ouch. I'm gonna have to get a handle. I put my thing over here in the worst spot I could put it, so that's gonna change. If you can't see it, I'm gonna end up moving it maybe a little bit that way or this way, but it's making it where if I tie up to a tree, it's a problem with that, and I have to put the thing. I don't know why I did that. It was just a hole sitting there, and I thought it was a good spot, but learned a lesson there on one fishing trip. See, put the pedestal in. That's sitting on top of the old bench that's here, the metal bench. Put the floor in. Put this little bench top in. It's just 1/2-inch plywood or 3/4, I can't remember. Double painted with the same paint here, this Rust-Oleum smoke gray and protective enamel, and then upholstered with this better carpet that you can get at Home Depot. Of course, this trailer, was a complete redo, and I painted these wheels, sanded them, painted them, put new hubs on them, replaced the carpet on these bunks, rewired the whole trailer. I have always, on the last 3 or 4 boats I've had these ram rod holders. These were supplied to me by Victor over at iFish. And thank you, Victor, again. I am getting a lot of use out of these. These things have caught a lot of fish. Here's the worst mistake I've made, is I bought this on Facebook, And it would have been great if it worked. Did everything I needed to do. It will do what I needed to do when I'm dragging, but I can't see my depth, which I do need when I'm suspending. And I don't have, it won't sonar for bait. I can't find bait, and I don't know my depth with it. And I got this on Facebook, paid $450, and then the guy won't do anything to help fix it. Here is a console I built because I needed a place for all my electronics. Eyefish is getting in the way now. Of course, you can see I installed a breaker. Now it's a breaker that works for 2 batteries, so I can use either battery or both at the same time, and I love that. And of course, these are for my running lights, my headlight, and my bilge on these 3. But I got this idea off a video of Hagen Grubs, and it's been working out great. Of course, I put the bench on here the same as I did over there. Put this seat here. I think I probably should have moved it a little bit further over because I have to kind of lean on the other side of it while driving this boat. So I custom made this myself. I'm an upholsterer, so I didn't like the fact that this was open and I could see that big red gas tank over here that I'll show you. And another thing is it's protecting these, protecting my other 150 amp battery and this charger that came with it. And again, these were supplied to me by Lithium Hub, and I appreciate it, guys. They are working outstanding. Of course, I hadn't even had to use the charger yet because it came fully charged, or pretty much charged, and I've been out on 2 trips and still haven't got it below 70%. This battery's at 94. The front one's at 70. You can see that bright thing there I had to cover up. Let me get this snapped back. Pop that in. Pop that in. Oh, here's my Honda. It's a 20 horse. Had to go all the way to South Arkansas for this because you couldn't find anything local. That funny thing is my tube for the bilge pump to pump out. And of course, here's my rod rack that I built in the previous video. And you can see, if you want to see the build on this, just go to that video. I put these ratchet straps in. I don't know why I waited so long on my other boat, but I love these things. Now these aren't, I used the Rhinos last time and the ratchet on them went out after 2 trips, but these so far, doing great. Get over here. Of course, this is just my little running light I added. You can see here. Now I put a 9-gallon gas tank in here because I fish a lot. I spend a lot of time on the lake. I don't know if I'm going to ever be able to fill it up and it work well in the backs, but I'll probably keep testing that little by little, putting, about 3/4 in. I only put about half a tank in on this first run. And then I may put a 3/4 of a tank and then go to the full and just see how much it weights the back end. So we'll get that buttoned up. Okay, and there's the front of this thing. Now those, the far left one, I can't even remember what all of them run, but I believe that far left one is running, I think it's running these lights. I've got lights underneath these gunnels. I've got them under there, under there, and then on this side, as you can see in this video, how it's lighting up the boat. It's working great for lighting up the whole interior of this boat. I've got a switch that's powering that I've never used yet, powering that front deal there. The one that stays switched there is powering this, the fish finder. Oh, this one, I think the middle one, it's either the middle one or this one, are powering lights. Are powering the lights that are up here, that are on the back side here. As you can see, I've got them running down through there and they're working great. And I'll show you. So there it is. Got my 2003 motor, paid $2,000 for. Built that rod rack myself, and that wasn't the cheapest thing to do, but boy, it's been working great. I am so glad I got that over those other ones that I had on my other boat. Now you can get a look at it here in the dark with the lights on and see how neat it looks up on the rod rack, how it looks on the interior, how the running lights look. So there we go.